Okay, session number 1 of the day, lower body deadlift focus, and I kick things off with some mobility to get mobile, funnily enough, before moving into and working up towards my top sets of 205 kilos for 3 sets of 3. For context on the rest of the video in terms of my nutrition, how I'm currently approaching it, I'm currently in a bit of a deficit, sitting at about 93.5, 94 kilos, trying to work my way down to about 91, just so I'm a little bit leaner. Body composition is a bit more performance focused rather than strength focused, and just want to be as efficient as possible with the body weight I've got for strength and best effort marathon performance. My current goals are developing and holding on to as much of my top end strength as I can, whilst working towards a best effort, ideally sub 3 hour marathon. So top sets here, 205 kilos for 3 sets of 3 was the brief, and set number 1 moved really quite well. Pleased with this after quite a hard effort marathon, half marathon, on the Saturday just beforehand. Set number 2 also moved well, but going into set number 3, I'll admit I was a little bit fatigued and sandbagged this set a little bit. Probably went into it with not as much aggression as was needed and paid the price, calling this at a set of 2. Spoilers, I know, but rep number 1 moved okay, and then I didn't really commit to rep number 2 as much as I should have done, which made it a bit higher on the RPE scale than it should have been. So I decided to call it there, so not to ruin my day / week. But all in all, deadlift stuff is moving well at the moment, and I'm really enjoying focusing on that top end strength as my running volume and specificity is increasing. Really need to focus on hard training, focused intentional training when you're in a deficit, and that's why I'm sort of documenting this process for you as well. I've had a hip injury for the past sort of 4 or 5 weeks, which has stopped me from squatting. Other movements have been fine. Running has been fine. Hasn't been affecting my hip, strangely, but I haven't squatted for about 4 weeks, and today I wanted to see how things were feeling, to see if some time had sort of solved the problem, or whether I need to go and see a physio and get a bit more of a proactive plan to move things forward. So 60 kilos feeling good, 100 kilos feeling good, and pleased with that at this point, because real key detail is when you're training as a hybrid athlete, you want to be doing as much as you can consistently to hold on to the skills and development that you've achieved. And if I don't squat for a long period of time whilst I'm in a deficit, whilst my running volume and whilst my commitment to other sporting disciplines is higher, I run the risk of losing squat strength or skill that I've developed over the years. So you don't want to fall into the trap of seasonally training and sort of doing a strength focus and an endurance focus. You want to be doing a little bit of everything all at once if you are training truly as a hybrid athlete. 160 kilos on the bar. Hit it for a single, but it did piss off my hip a little bit, unfortunately, which is a shame, but really does mean that I now know that I need to go and see Benji, the physio that I use, to get a bit of a clearer plan for recovery there. But for the time being, not affecting my running, not affecting my deadlifting, so we'll keep working around it as best we can. Hit some 85 kilo barbell split squats for 3 sets of 10 per leg before moving on to some Atlas stones, because I want to focus on trying to hit the 150 kilo Atlas stone that we had delivered recently. It's a big boy, and worked up to some triples at 90 kilos. Was gonna cover myself in glue, tacky, and do the 110 kilos for sets of 3, but I just couldn't be bothered covering myself in paint stripper on a Monday morning. So some triples at 90 kilos, all feeling good. Let's try and hit the 150 at some point this summer. That's my lower body session. I will talk you through my food and nutrition for the rest of the day before a track session this evening. Hello, good morning, in real life rather than in voiceover format for the first time. So, first bit of food for the day after having had nothing but a black coffee thus far. I have some mixed berries and some baked apple fat-free skyr. Calories and macros are on the screen for you just now, and I'm going to be totting those up throughout the day as I go. Embarrassingly, we don't actually have any bowls in the office yet, so I'm going to have to sort of layer this is kind of an elaborate fruit corner combo sort of thing going on. Anyway, it's a bit dark in here because that light has had water damage after heavy rain last week, which means that it's a little bit dingy in my office at the moment, but that's getting fixed later in the week. So what I'm going to do is eat this first and foremost, and then we are going to sit down and we're going to talk through my exact approach to nutrition loosely, and I'll refer you back to a video I've done in the past, which I'm going to update soon with a new calorie calculator. And then we can see what the rest of the day looks like in terms of managing my food around a pretty high intensity training day. So hard effort, demanding lower body session, not quite as much volume as planned because my squat volume obviously was kind of non-existent because I hit 160 and couldn't do anything more than the single because my hip was a little bit sore. Decided not to make up the volume with other things like stiff leg deadlifts or anything like that, just to keep volume manageable across the week. And I'll do a little bit more unilateral single leg work later in the week to just get some quad activation, etc., etc. Tonight, Got a pyramid session at the track as part of Omni Performance Run Club. Again, running all of the summer if you are based in Edinburgh. Link is in the description down below if you want to come along. But first things first, I'm gonna give myself a raspberry, give myself a blueberry, give myself a spoonful, and enjoy my breakfast. Okay, whiteboard. Easiest way to set out a stall for the rest of the day. The full detailed PowerPoint presentation breakdown of this is in a previous video. We're going to be updating that video with our own calorie calculator very soon. So if you would like to know when that video goes live, you'd like to have the calorie calculator sent to you, and you'd like to take part in a webinar hosted by our in-house nutritionist, Tom McClure, then register for the link in the description and pin comment down below. Tom is our in-house nutritionist at Omni Performance. You most recently ran 13 marathons in 13 days, and you can deadlift 220 kilos?
210.
Round it up, 220. So he's very much epitomises all that we stand for, and because he's here at Edinburgh, I thought, why not bring him in? So the first thing to do is establish your TDEE, which is basically your maintenance to continue existing at your body weight, height, step count, and day job for the most part. You can then determine where to go next. You can do this with any online calculator. Again, register down below so that we can send you ours once it's live. And then Tom, what do people need to consider with their goals?
Then you can align your goals based upon a body composition change, which may be a calorie deficit if you wish to get leaner, a calorie surplus if you want to gain strength or build muscle, or if you want to maintain and focus on performance, you hit maintain.
So general rule of thumb, maintenance, you sit at about 0% of your TDEE inclusive of lifting. We'll come onto that in a second. So you can make it inclusive of lifting and endurance training, or just inclusive of lifting, and then manage the endurance training calorie expenditure as we go. But that will make sense in a second. And again, deficit -5 to 10%, or surplus +5 to 10%. So the initial process, establish your TDEE by inputting your information into the calorie calculator and then determining what you would like to do with your nutrition, and then adjust the numbers accordingly. Using myself as an example, I am FC in this circumstance. I come to 2,475 calories because my TDEE minus 10% puts me here, because I'm currently trying to get a little bit leaner and lighter for a sub 3 hour marathon. I'm currently 93.5 kilos. I am still 181 centimeters tall, and I'm lifting 4 days a week. So that all informs this number minus this number equals this number. Again, if you're confused, refer back to the video that I've already referenced, but we are going to be updating that video with our own calorie calculator very soon. So just enjoy the show. Moving on to the approach. Obviously, you use your own figures for this. Your height, your weight, your lifting days per week informs which of these you choose. There's two ways of approaching things here that I've spoken about in the past. I'll talk about the way that I do things on a regular basis, and then this is probably a bit more of a conventional approach, which Tom can talk through. So there's two options that we generally recommend, a variable one and a fixed one. Variable is generally recommended if you have a progressive or varied training volume, or you are somebody that gets particularly hungry on rest days, like yours truly, which means that I establish a daily baseline, which is this number here. I will then eat that on days where I'm just lifting or not doing any endurance training. And then days where I'm doing endurance training, I'll eat back 90% of whatever Strava says I burn on top of this number here. So let's say that I burnt 1,000 calories on this day. I would eat back 900 calories on top of this, which has left me with a difficult sum, but it's 3,375 calories that I would eat on this day. I'm not doing any endurance training this day. And then obviously it's variable here as well. So it means that on a daily basis, within a 24-hour window, you are adjusting your calorie intake based on your exercise output. Option number two is fixed, which is as follows.
Fixed is where you might want to be a little bit more proactive rather than potentially being reactive. So you might eat a same or similar calorie target equaled out across 7 days, and then potentially within that periodize your intake of days that require more strength work, more endurance work, or days where you're not as active. You can periodize your macros, which we'll come onto in a second, but still to hit the same total number of calories, whether you're doing variable or fixed across a 7-day period.
So to give that context, in this case, this is my daily baseline. I am then eating calories on top of this on these days that are above that baseline. In this example, we take these surplus calories on these days, add them to my weekly total, divide that by 7, and have a higher daily input
or consumption to consider. We're getting a little bit technical now, so hopefully at the very least you're understanding the context of this full day of eating video. But if you do have any questions, please do drop them down below. And just a quick reminder before we move on to macros and final considerations, you can register for a webinar hosted by Tom, as well as any updates on nutrition, calorie calculator, or more content that we create on this by registering down below. Macros, protein. I generally believe between 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight to 1 gram per pound of body weight is a good range to work within for any strength and endurance athletes.
And if someone's in a deficit, you might want to push that number up even more. 1, to maintain muscle mass, 2, to help you feel a bit fuller if you are eating a little bit less. You can then periodize carbohydrate potentially around your sessions, so where your energy expenditure is higher or sessions are harder, you're going to want more carbohydrate. And general rule of thumb when it comes to fat is you're looking for about 1 gram of fat per kilogram of body weight per day.
Or if you work in pounds, 0.35 to 0.45 grams of fat per pound of body weight. Carbs, the rest. Let's keep it as simple as that. That's how simple I keep it. And within the context of this day of eating video, you'll know because I'm in a, well, you might not know actually yet at this point in the video, because I'm in a deficit, my protein is higher than my body weight in pounds, and that's because I like to eat more protein when I'm in a deficit because it keeps me fuller. We're not going to labor the point here. We haven't mentioned micro, sleep, hydration, caffeine, or alcohol consumption too much here, but these things all matter too. You're all adults. Take these things on board, apply them sensibly, make sure you have routines and structures around them, eat your micros, sleep sensibly, get enough of it, have a routine, drink water and electrolytes if it's getting hotter or you're doing sustained exertion periods, have a caffeine curfew, don't go mental every day and wonder why you can't get to sleep or why you feel destroyed every morning and need to reach for a coffee to be able to function, and moderate your alcohol intake around recovery and performance. Obviously you can drink if you want to, but accept that it's going to have a downstream effect on your performance, recovery, sleep, and potentially decision making when it comes to sticking to these numbers. Because when I drink, the following day tends to be like this in sort of pizza shaped food varieties. Basically, I accept that my calories are going to go haywire if I overconsume alcohol, so I try not to overconsume alcohol. Anything else to add?
I think this is important to help you be compliant and consistent with that. That's my main point for there.
Whistle stop summary. Establish your TDEE by inputting your information into a calorie calculator. Establish your goal and then adjust the numbers based on whether you're in a surplus, a deficit, or maintenance. You will then have a number to use as a baseline, which you can then factor in your endurance training into and average it out across the week, or you can use this as a baseline and then look within a 24-hour variable window day by day, and then you can determine what you want your macros to look like within that based on some ranges that we've given you, and you can then act like an adult and think about these things sensibly to really own your nutrition as a hybrid athlete. Hopefully that gives context to the food that I'm consuming, the way that I'm existing today. Thank you very much, and register to hear Tom talk about these things in much, much more detail with a lot more PowerPoint presentation slides and less terribly drawn ice cream cones.
Hello, me again. I am a little bit swamped with work, so I have secured myself a MyProtein chocolate chip cookie and a second black coffee of the day. This will be my last dosage of caffeine. I generally have 2 hits of caffeine and no later than 11 AM, sometimes 12, just so that I have a strict caffeine curfew so not to affect my sleep, which I've spoken about on the channel in the past, but I will do so in more detail later on. Anyway, I'm going to keep cracking on. It's about 10:30 just now. I've got calls that start at 11 until early afternoon. First things first, snack time and some more caffeine. Okay, so lunchtime, and I have myself 2 fat bagels here, specifically Marks & Spencer's high protein bagels, calories and macros for the meal on the screen just here, and running totals as well, with some cooked chicken. Obviously, I tend not to put raw chicken in my bagels, some light Lurpak, some sweet corn, and some light mayonnaise, and there's some sun-dried tomatoes in here as well I forgot to add, but let's just pretend for sake of argument today they don't have calories, as it would be a bad use of time, me searching for them in here. So the grand reveal. This is quite a dense bit of kitchen foil, but there we are. Some good looking bagels indeed. So as I've said, running totals will be on the screen for you just now, and I'm going to review the YouTube video that went live 2 weeks ago on Monday, which is very meta, and Elliot's left-handed, which means the mouse is over here, which is very, very odd. But I'm gonna watch this with my lunch. In fact, taste test. Forget to do taste test. You can tell I'm a training-focused YouTuber rather than a food-focused YouTuber. You know what? For 15 grams of protein per serving per bagel, they're not quite as dense as you'd expect. They're still quite dense, but less dense than you'd expect. So I'm going to review this video. If you've already seen it, tell everybody how good it was in the comments down below and they should go and watch it after this one. Look at Jamie with his new toy. What song are you going to choose? Do the lights go with the rhythm? I don't know. It's for the track sessions, by the way. We don't just have a mad speaker kicking about, but he's very proud of his purchase. The reality of YouTube, this is take 2 at this segment because I have already opened my banana. Calories and macros on the screen for you just now. I always like to have some carbohydrates about 30 minutes before any sort of anaerobic training, just because I feel a little bit more fueled and ready to party. Today has been chaos, lots of things popping off left, right and centre, things that I've had to get to. We had an offer on a house declined, so I had to sort of pick up the pieces of that in the short term and decide what we're going to do next. Updates on that to follow. Oh no, it's okay. And cut here. Okay, session number 2 of the day, Omnia Performance Run Club track edition at Meadowbank Arena here in Edinburgh. First thing to mention right off the bat is if you are local or you are nearby, you are more than welcome and encouraged to come along to these. They're available all summer. Private session that you can come and join us every Monday night, 6 till 7 at Meadowbank. Johnny's pleased about that, of course. Today's session was 200 metres with 200 metres walk back to the start. 400 metres equal rest, 800 metres equal rest, 800 metres equal rest, 400 metres equal rest, and then a full send 200 to finish. And we had a really good turnout for this today. Everybody was a little bit nervous going into this because this is a tough session, but there's nothing better than fighting through sessions like these with a good community, a good bunch of people, extended warm-up this time just to get everybody's heart rates and legs moving ahead of the 200 before cracking on. And crack on we did. That second 800 is absolutely brutal, and I was carrying some fatigue in my legs from the morning, but again, really encouraging to know that the hip niggle isn't affecting me on things like this. It's only squatting, which means I can continue to work hard at the track and build towards the harder effort stuff, which carries a lot of weight when it comes to best effort marathon work. Anyway, job done, positive day. Let's head home to see what I've got for dinner. Okay, chaotic day, dinner acquired, and I have 2 ciabatta rolls, 2 3% fat beef burgers with some low-fat cheese, some caramelized onion chutney, some light mayo, some ketchup, and some rocket and mixed leaf salad with some butter on the base of the ciabatta rolls as well, as a non-alcoholic lager from Days Brewing, which I have pretty much every evening midweek because I try and really minimize alcohol intake most of the time, to be honest, for the most part, but especially when I'm on a diet and I'm sort of cutting down, I just find that avoiding alcohol really does help in terms of managing habits, sleep, recovery, performance, all of the things that I want to be maximizing whilst I'm on compromised calories. If I'm in a massive surplus with loads of sleep and abundance of relaxation time, then I'd probably indulge a little bit more. But whilst I'm sort of on the precipice a little bit in terms of sleep and recovery and things, I do try and minimize my alcohol. And that's not to say that I won't have a drink every once in a while, but I kind of choose when to fight my battles on that one. It's 10:15, it's past my bedtime, it's been a long day. I'm a little frustrated. This has been the most run and gun ad hoc, holy shit, everything's going wrong all day video I've potentially ever produced. And I don't even know where this clip's gonna fall in the editing timeline. So whether I see you tomorrow or this is the end of the video, I'm not quite sure. If this is the end, thank you for your patience. Today has been an unadulterated mess. Like the video, comment down below, make sure to subscribe. I look forward to a more structured and less tumultuous day, but at least I ate all of the food that I said I was going to eat and planned to eat in the order
and amounts that I plan to eat it. So as full days of eating go, it was successful. As a video around that, I fear at this point in the day it was not, but you never know. We might work some magic in editing and it's going to be sick, and this just seems defeatist. You'll know as well as I will at this point. Goodbye.